So the other day I was out working in the backyard, and inside of the garage I heard a huge snapping sound, and that snapping sound I heard was just a huge and then it sounded like something was unwinding, like it was so loud. I ran inside, asked my wife if she knew what that was, and she said she heard it but didn't know what it was. So I came back out to the garage to investigate a little bit, tried opening the garage with my electronic garage door opener, and it would not open. So I thought, maybe one of the springs snapped, and that's exactly what happened. What's up, guys? This is Chaz with Homegrown How To. In this video, we're going to be replacing the springs on the Wayne Dalton Torquemaster Plus garage door here. Now, I ordered my springs online. I'll drop a link to the website down below. I have no affiliation with this website or with Wayne Dalton and Torquemaster Plus. I'm just a homeowner that likes to do things myself, save a lot of money doing so. So let's get to showing you how to replace these springs. It's really not too bad of a job. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing you want to do when working on your garage is you want to remove it from the track, from the garage door opener track. Do that just by pulling straight down. One spring snapped. The spring over here on the right side snapped. The spring over here on the left side is still intact and good, but I am going to replace both. I tried to do a little bit of research to see if I could only replace one versus the other. I couldn't find anything. The springs that are recommended do come with the right and left spring kit. They are a little pricey, but it's definitely going to save you a lot of money versus having somebody else do it for you. Maybe if you're a professional or have any advice, are you able to replace one spring for maybe other people out there versus replacing both? Now, my garage door here is a 147-pound garage door, so the specs on this, I believe, were anywhere from 140 to 149 pounds on the spring. That's kind of the range that they sell these springs in, is different poundage. So in my case, I have, like I said, two springs, one on the left, one on the right. And one way to be able to tell if your springs, both springs are broken, or maybe you have a single spring on your garage door, a way to tell if that's broken, that cable will be loose. You can see mine's tight, even though one side has broken. So this means this tube still has some torque on it from the spring, so it does still have some tension in it. One other way you can tell is trying to rotate this tube back and forth. If it freely rotates, that thing, both springs are broken, or if you have a single spring, that one spring is busted. Now, to find out exactly what springs you need, you should have this yellow sticker here on the left side of your Torquemaster tube here. And what you can do is you can rotate that and see exactly what specs you need. You can see weight, 147-pound door, 16-foot by 7-foot door there. So let's get into the process of showing you how to install your new springs. First things first, you got this little red bolt that is attached to the spring. And this is a 5/8 socket. I've got a deep socket here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna turn this thing counterclockwise. So you're gonna push this little tab down here. So you're gonna rotate that clockwise to release the tension. And then really slowly, you're going to let that tension loose. And then you set your tab down. And that's just going to click into place. So that is that's half of a turn. There's one turn. And as you can see, I'm just slowly releasing the tension here. So I've done 1.5 turns. There's 2. And push down. 2.5. Now, the amount of full turns that you're going to need to unwind the spring and take the tension completely off is going to depend on the size of your door. In my instance, this is a 7-foot door, so this is going to be 16 full turns to loosen and even to tighten this up towards the end. All right, and once you've got the tension released, you can just push on that, make sure everything is out of there. It does get easier with time as you sit and loosen that up. First, we've got to remove this bracket, so you've got a 1/2-inch socket here, and then right here on the bottom of this bracket you've got a little lag bolt. That's a 7/16 socket. And then very carefully, there is a little gear inside of here that can slide right out of the bottom of this bracket. So I put my thumb underneath the bottom of the bracket here so that gear doesn't slide out. And there we go, got the bracket. You can see there's the little plastic gear inside of there. Make sure you hold that and set that down so that that's not going to fall out. Then you lift this up and then this little drum should just slide right off. You can just let that hang on the side of the garage there. All right, so again on the other side here on the right side, this is the side where my spring busted. You can see now I can freely rotate this now that I loosened that spring on the left side, and this wire is loose. So those are telltale signs that you have a broken spring or springs. Again, going back to my 1/2 inch socket right here, I'm going to loosen this up. And then switching back to my 7/16 socket here, we're going to loosen up this little lag bolt here. There we go. And then again, when you're doing this, you've got the little gear here. So I'm going to put my finger underneath there, lift up on this entire mechanism, kind of wiggle that out. You can see the plastic gear that will fall out from under here. Just make sure you keep that there so you don't put it on the wrong way when you need to reinstall it. Next, we've got to remove this little cable drum. You're going to lift up on the pole, and that should just slide right out. Set that off to the side. All right, guys, then next we've got to remove this entire pole here. There is a little bracket here up top. See if I can get it here on camera. Up top, there is that little tab that you're going to want to bend over. That little tab right there. You're going to bend that over so that you can just lift this thing right up off of its bracket. And then this thing is also going to be in the way. So you can do, there's this little cotter pin. You're going to remove that so that you can get this little bracket out of the way so you can freely pull that tube out. Pin easily comes out. This little bracket falls down. And so I don't lose that pin, I'm just going to put it back in. And like I said, you've got this little tab. There's a little metal tab that sits right over this little rotating part here. Just go ahead, snag yourself some pliers, and you should be able to just move that out of the way very easily. And now I can freely pull that up out of the system. So just grab it from the middle. Pretty easy to do yourself. You can set that on top of your A-frame ladder as you're climbing down. All right, guys, so this is the left side of my garage door. Left side meaning as I'm looking out of my house, outside of the garage, the left side here. So this is the red spring here. The red spring is going to be installed onto the left side. All right, so here's the side that busted. I mean, you can see straight up snapped. Let's try to get the rest of that out. There we go. Here is my right-sided one. You can see right where that thing snapped. Son of a bee. And then the good spring, the red spring here. So this little tubes, you're going to want to reuse these tubes. I'll show you how to do those in just a second. So that is my left-handed. I'm going to leave that over here on the left side. And I've also got to get this tube out of here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach it. All right. So I was able to just stick I had a little file that's kind of long. I was able to stick that in and move that up just a little bit, and then I'm going to use these pliers to just pull it out the rest of the way. Zoom, 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 zoom. All right, so here are the new springs that I'm going to apply the tubes. Now, in some instances, these springs may differ in sizes from your original springs, so you may have to cut the tubes so that it fits in your new springs. And it appears in this instance, these plastic tubes are going to be the correct length for these springs. As you can see here, you just want to make sure that this little groove there is exposed from the plastic tubing. Again, this little area here needs to be exposed. The plastic tubing will not slide any further past that. Oh, it appears I am going to have to cut this a little bit. So I'm just going to come here on the thing, make a little rough mark there, and I'm going to come back and cut that with my razor knife. Right, and then the next step, again, you're gonna wanna make sure the teardrop shape of the tubing and the teardrop shape of the inside area of your spring is going to match up. And then you're gonna take that teardrop shape and just slide her on in. Just like that. And you're gonna leave this area, again, exposed. Don't push that in too far. And then just repeat on the right-hand side. And then we're gonna be ready to put our pole back up. And with the center point here, you should be able to just slide that right back over, and then you can come over to the edges and finish that up. And while I'm here, I'm gonna flip that little tab back over. Next, you're gonna slide your winder drum back on. Again, that can only go on in one direction as the teardrop shape will allow. And that only goes on so far. And then you've got that little groove there. You're gonna wanna make sure that that groove sits in there like that. And then when that winds, your little cable is going to tighten up. For now, I'm gonna leave that pretty loose because I gotta do the other side. You've got these little grooves on here which are going to fit into this gear. So you wanna make sure that those grooves get seated well. There we go. And then you've got your two bolts. You've got your lag bolt. You'll also have your little bolt that comes in from the side here. Your washer. And this little bolt here. And then as a reminder, this is your lag bolt, your 7/16 bolt. And this one is your 1/2" bolt. Now we're gonna go over the other side, make sure the spring is seated, and then get the bracket back on over there. And again, it's got that teardrop shape to it. You just wanna make sure your little groove, oh, you don't want that to be. So make sure I almost messed up there. Just make sure your little cable here is on the inside of the bracket here, and it has a nice free travel all the way down to the bottom of the door. And then you've got this little, and you got a little groove there that's on the side of the gears. You want to make sure that sits into that little groove on the bracket nicely. And you may have to kind of twist your springs a little bit to get this to seat on those grooves easily. And then again, I'm just going to start all of these little bolts by hand here. Lag bolt. You'll want to do is you're ready to start tightening up your springs. It states in the instructions to be sure to start on the right side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start a light wind, just kind of hand wind this thing. Again, make sure the travel of this cable is completely clear all the way down to the bottom, which mine wasn't. It's caught on something. So make sure that is completely clear all the way down to the bottom of the door. Hand tighten that. Using the 5/8 socket here, you're going to turn your door to the revolutions that is needed to counterbalance your garage door. So on mine, I've got the information here. My door is a 7-foot door and it weighs 147 pounds. So I'm going to be turning this 16 revolutions. This little table is also located in your instructions as well, so be sure to follow that. That's going to be different for the size and weight of your door. So I've got to turn this 16 times. So what I have done here is I have marked a little mark here, how many revolutions I have to do here. So every time I see that mark, that's one turn. So basically 1/2 is bringing that all the way up and all the way down is a 1/2 turn here. So that's one turn. 2, 3, 8.
So now that I've got half the tension on this right-handed spring, I'm going to go ahead and put half the tension on the left-handed spring. And then once I'm done with that, I'll come back, put the full tension, the 16 turns on this right side, and then on the left.
And then on this left side, you're going to tighten this one by rotating that clockwise. So again, now that one revolution, there's one. 2. And 8. Now I am just finishing up the job here. So just tightening up this side, 8 more revolutions.
Again, these 8 additional turns add to the 16 full turns that this requires. Now we're going to go ahead and do the left side.
Now we're ready to reattach the door here. I'm just going to reattach it. You can test the spring doors without reattaching this, but I'm just going to do it so I don't forget, because knowing me, I will. Pin goes in, and then slide your little cotter pin. All right, so now we're going to test out the door here. Everything is installed. Got my tab bent back over here on the middle bracket. Installed the bracket back to the track. Both springs are tightened. Let's test her out. All right, guys, so all you want to do to test out the door is basically lift it up. You want to lift it up about 1/3 of the way. It should stay right where it is. If it does, you're going to lift it up halfway, make sure it stays. 3/4 of the way, make sure it stays. All right. So mine is wanting to fall down a little bit, so I'm going to need to add a little bit of tension onto there. So if you open yours and it wants to swing back, then you need to release some tension. I'm probably going to add about a turn to each side and just see what that does. We've added a turn to each side. And it is staying right where it needs to stay, so that was perfect. Let's go halfway up, see what she looks like. There we go, staying put. That's awesome. And then lift her all the way up and just make sure she's gonna stay. I like that, very good. We're golden. Woo! Now I've got the track back up here. I'm going to reattach that just by clicking that back up like so. I'm gonna go ahead and try and open the garage with the garage door opener. See how she works. Money, baby. Let's go. Sick. All right, guys, so that is all there is to it. It's really not a hard job at all. I probably saved myself at least $300 to $400 doing this myself, which is a lot of money. The Torquemaster Plus system with the Wayne Dalton garage door, super simple to do. The safety features within the Torquemaster Plus are, I don't know how you could injure yourself unless you were not being careful. I highly recommend doing this yourself. Anybody can do it. Follow these instructions. The instructions that they give you with the springs are really descriptive. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm just a DIY guy that likes to do things myself, save me some dough, and hopefully by making this video, it was helpful for you. So if it was, please show your support by liking the video, subscribing to the channel. Hope this video was helpful for you. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.